So our first question for tonight is, I feel very stressed by two particular people at work, but I also don't have the time or energy to find another job right now, and I cannot afford to walk away. My partner is not particularly supportive, and I feel lost and overwhelmed, depressed, and physically ill navigating this. Can Lumpur help in any way?
Well, I sympathize with the situation. Sounds like you need lots of patience, and a regular Dhamma practice will help. Listening to the Dhamma regularly to get some good inputs to stimulate this reflection on the Four Noble Truths, so you can see where maybe you can reduce your own stress, where you need to be patient with those things that you can't change very much. You may just have to consciously bring up the patience and keep a healthy attitude. But where you can change, that's where you need to apply the Dhamma. So try to encourage, bring up the quality of metta, goodwill for yourself, because you're an important part of the equation, and then metta for the other people you're working with, your partner and so on. If you're tending towards depression, then your metta, goodwill, compassion for yourself, for others is important. So then with compassion, you're also seeing how much rest you need. If you have health problems, whether you need to get any extra help from those people who can help you with, in one way or another, physical or mental health care. And perhaps if it is a really unsuitable job, well, maybe make a long-term plan to change jobs. But if you can't at the moment, well, just stick with it patiently and try and see where you can change yourself. Often that's where you can get quick results, is by putting effort into your own Dhamma practice. You listen to some Dhamma every day, maybe. Depends what works for you, whether it's chanting, meditation, listening to the Dhamma, helping others. You know, when we get caught into stress and suffering, we tend to become very obsessed with ourselves. And one way that often helps is to go out and help others a bit more. Put effort into helping your family member, put effort into helping the people around you in society. So maybe doing some voluntary work, or helping your extended family, or helping at work, doesn't matter. So I would recommend, putting effort into your Dhamma practice and being patient and give it time so that you get through the difficulties.
Sadhu Lumpur. Our next question goes, thank you for sharing these reflections with us, Ajahn. While practicing meditation and encountering defilements, dealing with restlessness, it remains to be one of the most challenging for me. While the rest of them provide a stable object for reflection, the nature of restlessness is constantly shifting. Restlessness seems to happen on its own, hijacking the mind, and trying to reflect on it seems to just proliferate the restless state. Could you please recommend any practice to counter restlessness?
Just keep practicing. Mindfulness is what will counter restlessness. Mindfulness, patience. Just keep working on improving the quality of your mindfulness. So some regular meditation, morning or evening, and watch. If you're putting effort into practicing mindfulness, and you watch, you'll see even restlessness is temporary. It doesn't last, does it? It changes. Whatever's making you restless, whatever the object you're thinking about, the issue, the problem, there'll be a period when you're thinking about it, and eventually that will change, that will stop. You need to watch that, catch that, and then you can see for yourself, oh, my state of mind, my mood has changed. So if you keep practicing some meditation every day, even if for short periods, you'll get to know restlessness as it is. The important thing is keep a good attitude. So if you're sitting there and you're restless, that's fine. Just accept that. Okay, I'm restless today, but then watch it. How long will it last? Will it be for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for half an hour? What we tend to do is we're restless for a while, then maybe we go and see something else, do something else that is more interesting, absorbing for us to distract ourselves. So we're not really being mindful of restlessness. We're just reacting to it. But if you take restlessness as something to learn from, so what are the qualities you need to learn from it? Well, you need to be more mindful, pay attention, and then reflect on it. You ask yourself, how long does it last? Are these thoughts anything very substantial? Restlessness is just endless trains of thought. How substantial are these? Are they a self? Do they really belong to me, or are they just like trains of thought coming in and out of the mind? If they were really me, then I should be able to stop and start them as I wish. But they're not. They have their own causes. We've let our mind wander for so long before and react to so many things in the past. And now this is coming up as the result of all that. So we have to be very patient with that. But just keep reflecting. This is not me, not myself, not a person. It's just what we call a mental defilement that has its causes and conditions. It comes up and then it passes away. The more you reflect on that and see that, the less power the restlessness will have over your mind.
Sarulumpo. Our next question has 2 sub-questions, so we'll give it a go. On the question of meditation on elements, I had a strange experience that seemed to have been close to a deep insight. I felt for a moment elements coming together to form this individual, but when I got to a certain point, a strong sense of fear appeared and the experience vanished. I figured that it was my sense of self that stood in the way. So here are my questions. What is the proper way of practicing the meditation on 4 elements? And the next question is, what is the proper way of practicing to realize anatta, to actually realize it and not just philosophize about it?
Well, keep doing what you're doing, but when mindfulness is stronger, more continuous, then the mind is more equanimous, isn't it? It's more detached. So you can look on and investigate experience, whether it's investigating the 4 elements or probably one of the 4 elements. You can't really do them all at the same time. You pick one, you're focusing on that. And you're asking questions and observing, where is the self, where is the person in this element, in the air or in the solid part of the body or the liquid part of the body or the heat, the temperature or the coolness of the body. Where is a person in that? Where does it come from? Where do the elements come from? What do they do? They're in the body for a while and then the body itself is constantly changing and those elements are changing. If there were really a person or a being, then should be much more control and ownership of them. Those are the kind of questions you're investigating and observing. It's quite a long question, so I can't remember it all. But anatta is something you just see in glimpses at first, isn't it? You see your thoughts arise and pass away, and then they're gone. Or you observe aspects of the body. Say, like you can observe the hair of the head and how it grows, and then you shave it off, or it falls off, and then it's gone. You can keep reflecting on this over and over again until your mind becomes much more familiar with the whole thing, becomes more settled, more still, more quiet. And then you just know, oh, the solid parts of this body, whatever you've been focusing on, whether it's the bones or the skin or the hair, ultimately there's no self in this. It all is constantly changing, breaking apart. You just have to keep doing it, don't you? Little by little, you keep working at it, keep reflecting on it. At first, it's hard because if you're living in a world that's a very sensual place where we're constantly focusing on beauty, reacting to beauty, reacting to ugliness, we're following desire all the time, then to focus on something as simple as 4 elements or one of the 4 elements, that takes time. It takes practice. It takes to appreciate an element as an element, see it as an element, to see it as impermanent, see it as not self, takes time, takes effort. So you have to be willing to give yourself time, keep coming back to the meditation object, but ask these questions. Where is the self in bones? Say, if you're looking at your own bones, or the bones in animals. Say, like, we contemplate bones a lot here in the forest because you see a lot of bones. You literally just walk through the forest and you'll come across animal bones. So if you're contemplating them, you're seeing, they're impermanent, they're not self. Whatever person, being is born into the world with bones, those bones are there for a while, and eventually that animal or person dies. Even the bones break apart. Even the bones go back to dust, go back to the earth. The more you contemplate it, the more you see this. But you have to be willing to give it time and develop that reflective part of the mind.
Sadhu Lumpur. Another question. Dear Lumpur, I miss my children who are living overseas. When I call them to chat and find out what they are doing, they are sometimes agitated. Am I grasping? Thank you.
Probably. It's difficult, isn't it? If you're a parent and you're used to your kids when they're small and telling them to do everything, being in charge of them, kind of owning them, you might say, and then they grow up and they study, either study or work overseas, and they're physically separate. You're still stuck with your attachment to your kids as my kids, and owning them and controlling them. Now they've gone away, and so that's part of your practice as a mother or a father. You've got to adjust your way of viewing your kids and now see them as fully grown adults who are living away apart from you. And if you keep ringing them up, asking them what they're doing, they'll probably get annoyed because they're doing other things now. And that doesn't mean to say that they've forgotten their parents. It just means they're focused on work, travel, whatever they're doing. And you may have to accept that. And that's part of your reflection as a parent, the suffering of separation, wanting things to always stay the same, wanting your kids to always be next to you. That's the suffering of being a parent, isn't it? Your kids, maybe they remember you every day, maybe they don't. You don't really know that, and you can't control that. And you have to accept the changing conditions of your life and your children's life. But that's something to reflect on. One day we all have to die. So better to see attachment and let go of it now, rather than leave it all bottled up until the last moment of your life and then have to struggle with, separation from family and everything you love and like right at the end. Practice and contemplate it right here, right now, every day. And you can wish your children well, and you can send thoughts of loving kindness to them. You can share in their successes. You can give compassion and sympathy when they're in suffering. You can always be there to offer whatever assistance you can for them, but you also have to accept they won't be with you all the time now because they're adults. And maybe you can look at this new situation in a different light and say, oh, now I have this time to meditate and practice the Dhamma. I've been complaining about how little time I have for my Dhamma practice while I was looking after my kids. Now my kids have grown up. I can devote my time to the Dhamma. Maybe you'll get enlightened now. So maybe look at it in that way.
Sadhu. If that's the last question, then we may end the session there. Okay. That's all we have for.
Yeah, very nice to talk to you, and we can see you again next week.